Welcome back to Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. I am Big Nate, coming at you with another Scotch video, doing the core lineup of my favorite Islay distillery, Ardbeg. Ardbeg is my favorite Islay distillery. I do love Islay as a whole. Islay is my favorite Scotch region, and Islay is known for being peaty, briny, smoky, kick your teeth in. Not necessarily on proof, but just on flavors and everything. It's just really aggressive, and I really, really like it. Ardbeg is my favorite distillery on Islay. We're going to go through the 5 bottles that are on their core range. They do have other committee releases and special releases and things like that, but these are going to be the 5 that are considered their core range. So I'm going to pour them as I pull them up. This is going to be Wee Beastie. This is, I think, came out in 2019 or 2020. This is a relatively new offering. This is only a 5-year-old. These are all single malts. So single malt, one distillery, all barley. So there's not much to talk about the mash bill. They're all 100% barley. This is Wee Beastie. It's a 5-year-old. And this is the first. This is a really, I like this bottle a lot. I've got to save myself a pour. I got to replace this bottle. Second is going to be Ardbeg 10. This is a new bottle. So we have 5-year-old Ardbeg, we have 10-year-old Ardbeg. Check this out. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. This is 5, this is 10. Look at the color difference. Interesting. And then we also have Ardbeg. I call it Anoa. It's A-N-O-A. So people say A-N-O-A, Anoa, Anoa. I call it Anoa. Okay, and that's even darker than the other two. Then we have number 4, my favorite Islay Scotch. What's your favorite Islay Scotch? What's your favorite whiskey? What's your favorite Islay Scotch? Boom. This is it. Ardbeg Uigeadail. Uigeadail. I love the Uigeadail. This is my favorite Islay Scotch. This is my favorite whiskey in the world. I love this whiskey. This is just so good. And then the last but not least, and I'm going in order of what people think are prestigious. 5, 10, Anoa, Uigeadail, and Corryvreckan. Corryvreckan is considered the top of the 3 line of the core lines, and these are the 5 whiskeys in the Ardbeg, what would be considered the core lineup. A 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, we don't know the age on these ones, but these are going up in price. So we're talking like 40, 60, 65 to 70, 90, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. Is what we're looking at as far as price points goes on these. I am using what are called Copita glasses on this because I'm almost out of Glens, and also, Ardbeg is so aggressive. I don't necessarily need to use a Glen. I want actually some of the stuff to escape because of how aggressive the smoke can be. So we're gonna start with the Wee Beastie. This comes in at 47.4% ABV. And they always give notes on this. So I'm going to read these out every time. So this is called Wee Beastie, 5 years old, which is very young for a Scotch. We think about 12 years old as kind of being the entry, 10 to 12 being the entry level point. But this is 5. A monster of a dram. Young and intensely smoky with a rich explosive mouthfeel of chocolate, tar, and savory meats. I tend to get meatiness on Ardbeg, which is why it's my favorite. Cracked black pepper and sappy pine resin on the snout. Yeah, I actually do get the pine. I've read this a couple times, but it's been a while since I drank it. I do get the pine. The smoke it's very intense smoke, very peaty. Now, what peat is it's actually peat moss. So peat is the second most abundant product in the world, second to water. But however, it is diminishing, especially because of how many Scotch distilleries use it. So what happens is they take this specific trowel type of shovel and they dig out bricks that are probably about this long or so, and that's their fuel. They used to burn it for fuel. That's what their fire source was. And then what happens during the malting phase is of barley is they make a fire using bricks of peat. That fire gets infused into the malting barley, and it continues all the way through malting to distillation to aging, and it ends up in the glass. There's saltiness to this. There's brininess. Islay is a very small island off the southwest coast of Scotland. There are currently 8 distilleries on it. I think they're opening a 9th and maybe even a 10th. But when you think Scotch, you think Islay. No, you may not consciously think that. What you're thinking is the characteristics of Islay. I say, hey, you want some Scotch? You're going to think, oh, smoky, briny, yuck. A lot of people say Band-Aid or iodine, things like that. But in reality, you're just describing Islay, maybe a little bit of Campbelltown, maybe a little bit of Island, like Talisker, things like that. But the majority of Scotland actually is very pretty, very friendly. I've got bottles here that are like that. And so it's just a stereotype of Scotland that you associate all Scotch with being Islay. I'm going to nose these first, and then I'm going to taste them. So that was the Wee Beastie, the 10-year, or the Wee Beastie, the 5-year. This is 10-year. The color is a lot lighter than the 5-year. And it's different. It's actually not as intense. The smoke is not as intense as the Wee Beastie. Yeah, it's prettier. What are the notes on the 10? Sea spray, tarry rope, and immense smoky intensity. The smokiness is not as much as the 5. This would be like, say, like those those big cones of meat that they do, like lamb or beef or something like that drip down. This is like the meat itself, and this is if you smelled the drippings. Like the meat versus the essence of the meat. All right, let's move on to the Anoa. Oh, and 10 is 46%. So this is more 47.4. Now this is the Anoa, A-N-O-A. This comes in at 46.6%. And this says smoky, sweet, singularly rounded. It's a little bit more, the color is a little bit more than the Wee Beastie and the 10. Now I will say this. Scotland allows for their distillers to use coloring. It's like E95, something like that. It's not supposed to change the flavor, and it really doesn't. But they are allowed to use coloring to make it more caramel colored, but they don't have to disclose it. So we don't know who does or does not. My guess is there is not any in this, but I don't know if Ardbeg uses it or not. Trying to see. All right. Well, I'll look as I nose. So this is a little bit. This is not as intense as the 5, but a little more intense than the 10. All right. Uigeadail, my baby. Now this is non-chill filtered on this specific batch. Now this comes in at 54.2% ABV. Real nice color, darkest so far. Actually, it's the darkest of the 5. Splashed a little on my mustache. Ooh, I got pickle coming out my mustache. That's weird. It dripped through my mustache into my mouth and it tasted pickle. Weird. This says treacle, which is molasses. I had to do some research to determine this is treacle is molasses. Treacle, bacon, bonfires. I'm getting a little bit acclimated to the smoke, so sometimes Except for on the 5, which is just very intensely smoky. We're obviously jumping up in proof as well. Corryvreckan. This comes in at 47.1. This is turbulent, peppery, dark fruits. This also says no chill filtered. Oh, they all do. But they don't say anything about whether... Some distilleries will disclose, like, no added coloring. If I had to rank them, getting the smoke's a little bit lighter than... Of all 5, the Wee Beastie brings the most smoke. It just does. Color-wise, it goes Uigeadail, Corryvreckan, Inoa, Wee Beastie, and 10. Those are in ranking. Those are the darkest to the lightest color. Let's give these a taste. Very peppery. There is meatiness. It's good. I'm going to try to do these fast as I realize they're taking up a bit of time just talking about them and not tasting them. Ten is lighter than 5 on the taste. So far 5 is better than 10. Five is better than these two. I just have to decide between the two which is better. This is very watery. The 10 is. Ten is better than Inoa. So it goes 5, 10, Inoa. Let's get to... I'm going to risk my palate a little bit. No, because they're all the same. It's all single malt. Just different proof points. Oh, there it is. This is in the running for first. So 10 is better than Inoa, but I have to do, so right now Wee Beastie and Uigeadail are leading the charge. Honestly, Inoa's might take last. Sorry, Inoa. Ooh, this, I got some vanilla on this. All right, let's take it. A little bit more intense on the flavor. Clings a little bit. All right. The Uigeadail is a little bit softer and I prefer it. So right now, 5th place is Inoa. 4th place is 10. 3rd place is Corryvreckan. It all comes down to this. Wee Beastie versus our Uigeadail. All right, there's a sharpness to the 5 that I like more than the others, but not more than Uigeadail. My tongue is tingling like a mother right now. All right, that does it. I went in a little biased. These were not blind. I knew what they were. But first place, Uigeadail. Second place, Beastie. Third place, Corryvreckan. Third place, and 10, and fifth place, Anoa. This has been the Ardbeg core lineup. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Check me out on Instagram. If you're not subscribed, consider doing so. Costs you nothing, helps out the channel a ton. So do likes. So consider doing that. I'll see you next time on Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. Cheers.